Welcome back. I'm Taylor, and this is another STEM story time. Today we're going to be reading The Lion's Share, a tale of having cake and eating it too, by Matthew McElligott. This book is about fractions, and after the story, we're going to learn a little bit about how we can understand fractions better using Legos. So let's get into the story. Every year, at the start of spring, the lion invited a small group of animals to join him for a special dinner. The ant had never dined with the king before. She was very nervous and wanted to make a good impression. When the day came, she arrived exactly on time, not a minute too soon or too late. Sometime later, the beetle arrived, then the frog, the macaw, the warthog, the tortoise, the gorilla, the hippo, and the elephant. They were all late. When dinner was served, the ant was shocked at how the others behaved. The elephant talked about himself constantly. The hippo never wiped her mouth. The gorilla threw his food, and the warthog tried to eat the flowers. What strange manners, thought the ant. She looked to the lion, who said nothing. After dinner, the table was cleared and a large cake was brought out for dessert. The lion passed it to the elephant. "Please, help yourself," he said. The elephant looked at the cake. "I could eat this in one bite," he thought, "but that might seem greedy." With a grand gesture, he cut the cake in half and passed the rest on to the hippo. "What a pig," thought the hippo. "But if he's taking half, I'm taking half of what's left." She made a slice down the middle and handed the remaining 1/4 of the cake to the gorilla. This continued around the table as each animal took half of the remaining cake and passed the rest on until it finally reached the ant. As she struggled to cut the tiny slice in two, it crumbled to pieces on her plate. All the animals turned to her. "Typical ant," said the elephant. "She thinks only of herself. When the cake came to me, I shared it." "I know," said the hippo. "We all did." "Doesn't she know the king hasn't eaten yet?" scoffed the tortoise. The warthog, who was sitting in her cake, simply shook her head in disgust. The ant was mortified. Surely she would never be invited back. "My king," said the ant, "please forgive me. I'm ashamed to say there's nothing left to share. But if you will allow, it would be my honor to bake a special strawberry sponge cake just for you tomorrow. It's my grandmother's recipe, and I think you will enjoy it." The king smiled. "Thank you," he said. "You are very generous." "Ha! Who does she think she is?" thought the beetle. He scampered over to the lion's plate. "My king, to show my thanks, I would like to bake you 2 cakes tomorrow. Double chocolate fudge." "Hey, king," said the frog, "I'm going to bake you 4 raspberry layer cakes tomorrow. That's twice as many." "I can top that," announced the macaw. "I shall bake the king twice as many carrot cakes, 8, and he shall have them tomorrow." "Then I'll bake twice as many mud cakes," snorted the warthog. "How many is that exactly?" 16, said the tortoise. "Really?" said the warthog. That sounds like a lot.
Maybe for you, said the tortoise, but I will happily bake twice that. 32 apple walnut cakes will be ready by tomorrow afternoon. The gorilla looked at the tortoise. He didn't like the tortoise. And although the gorilla had never baked anything ever before, he somehow found himself offering twice as many banana crumb cakes. 64? Asked the king. Are you sure? The gorilla nodded, but he didn't look sure. All eyes turned to the hippo. Naturally, she stammered, it will be my honor to bake twice as many spice cakes. Let me see. She took out a piece of paper and began to scribble some numbers. Her voice was shaking as she put down the pencil. This can't be right, she said finally. The gorilla grabbed the piece of paper. 128, he announced with a grin. The elephant was crestfallen. But he had to top the hippo. Elephants were twice as good as hippos. With a deep breath, he announced, and I, the great elephant, shall bake twice as many as the hippo. 246 peanut butter pound cakes. 256, corrected the tortoise. Oh, for goodness sake, cursed the elephant. That night, the ant baked her cake for the king. She took her time and measured everything carefully. She spread the frosting as smoothly as she could, then decorated the top with sprinkles. It was a very fine cake. The next morning, she delivered it to the king. Such a fine cake, said the lion. Won't you share it with me? The end. All right. So that story was all about fractions. It was about how the cake was tried to be split between everybody. Each person kept taking half of the cake until by the time it got to the ant, there was almost nothing left. The ant then said that she was going to bake one cake for the king the next day. And so everyone else wanted to do double what the last person had said until it got to the elephant, who had over 100 cakes to make, which is a lot. So we are going to learn how to understand fractions a little bit better with Legos, something a lot of you guys will have around your houses. So today I'm going to show you that it's pretty simple to understand fractions. This, we'll start with this one, is our whole piece. It is one whole piece. So if you wanted to cut this in half, just like the cake, like they cut the cake in half, you would get two different parts that make up the same amount as the whole. These parts, this part and this part, are each 1/2. 1/2 of the whole. We can break that down even further. If we cut each of those red pieces also in half, we get these. These would be one of 4 parts that make up the whole, or 1/4. We can go even further. We can cut those in half and we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 parts. 8 individual parts that make up the whole, or 1/8. This is 1/8 of the whole. We can go even smaller still. Just once more. I'm not going to put every single one of these on, but we have these little guys. And if you break the 1/8 piece into 2, fill them up. Each one of these is 1 of 16 parts that makes up the whole. 1/16. Now each of these parts, the important part is that they are equal. So equal parts that are split up, split in 2, that make up a whole. So this doesn't have to always be our whole. We could use a different piece, like this one. See, it's smaller than the first one. But what if we said this was our whole piece? These red blocks that we said were our half pieces earlier, they don't work anymore because these two do not equal 1/2 of our whole. There's too much left over. Now these blocks are going to be our half pieces. So we have our whole. This is our new whole. We break that whole into 2 pieces, 2 equal pieces. And now these are 1/2. 1/2 of the whole. You could also break this whole into 3 equal parts. So you wouldn't break this in half, but instead you're breaking the whole into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, that all make up the whole. These are 1/3 of the whole. Now these, you could break those 1/3 up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So each one of these red pieces is 1/6. 1 of 6 parts that make up the whole. And again, our last one, we have our really small bricks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So each of these yellow bricks is 1/12 of the whole. 1 of 12 parts that makes up our whole. So you can figure out some basic math problems with these too. So let's say this one was our whole piece. This brick now is our whole. And what if I took one of these and put it on there? How much is this? Another way to look at it would be take a brick like this. If this is our 1 whole piece, then these bricks would be 1/2. And these bricks, 1, 2, 3, 4. These yellow bricks now are 1/4 of the whole. So if I took this one and put it on our whole piece, how would you know how much it is? Well, you fill it up. 1, 2, 3. So this green brick is equal to 3/4, 3 of the 4 parts that make up the whole. So if you had the fraction, if someone gave you a problem that said 3/4 plus 1/4, then what would that equal? It's pretty easy to figure out. If you have Legos, you take your whole Lego, your 3/4 piece. So 3/4 plus 1/4 equals 1, the whole. So it's a really simple way to understand fractions. You have 3/4 plus a 1/4, or 3 parts plus 1 part, equal 1 whole part. So it's really simple, and you can do even more advanced things. You can actually subtract using fractions using Legos, and you can even multiply and divide fractions using Legos, but that is a project for another time. So if you have Legos at home, how do you think you could do some math problems with Legos? Do you think you could do something more advanced? Like, what if someone were to tell you to find out what 7/8 looks like? How would you do that? Well, you might fill up that much. Actually, I think I used the wrong brick. See, even I mess up sometimes. Anyway, that's a challenge for you guys to figure out. I hope you guys had fun learning about Legos and fractions, and I'd be interested to see what you guys can learn on your own. See you later.